Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Zombie Train. This is episode number 245. No, sorry. The question is from episode 245. This is episode 309. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man. I've got a little bit of a stuffy nose. And this question was from Vincent Burkhan, like I said on episode 245. And he says, "Hey, I was thinking, could you use dead zombies as a fuel source as well as experiment subjects?" Not gonna lie, never tried to use them as a fuel source, really just tried to keep them away. It's not like they wouldn't burn if you poured enough accelerant on them, because that was really the only way you could properly dispose of a zombie corpse. But as experimental test subjects, dead zombies, there wasn't really a lot to gain with a dead zombie, at least for us. We weren't scientists. I talked about this a little bit in the last episode. Sorry. Which was a couple of weeks ago because of my trip. But we weren't the researchers. Not even by a long shot. We were doing a very specific job. A very specific sort of purpose. And we didn't have a lot of time, and we didn't really have a lot of interest in understanding more of the really nitty-gritty stuff about zombies. And we did hear about zombies sort of being used by the military as like a, well, let's test this weapon and see if it does really well. But I'm not sure if that was like, they rounded a bunch up and took them back to a place and shot at them, or if they were just testing in the field. That could have been easily misconstrued. And they certainly never asked us to, like, move a carload of live zombies, so I don't know. The whole thing with the zombies, that's a really weird way to start it. It's like, wow, the whole thing with the enemy. It was very much there wasn't a lot to learn there, at least not for us. There wasn't a lot, of opportunities for us to go, wow, that's really interesting. Why are they doing that? It was just like, oh god, they're, here they come. And I'm not saying that there wasn't interest among myself or among the rest of the crew, but there definitely wasn't a lot of exploitation of that interest. It was interesting in a way, because like I mentioned last episode, I believe, it was so bizarre to have these zombies, actual zombies, as an adversary. And, after living basically your whole life thinking there's something supernatural, something completely unreal within fully within the realm of fiction, to have zombies, it certainly made a lot of people curious, questioning. What else do we not know? What else do we think is not real? And it, turns out there's really nothing else. It's just the zombies. But, we didn't run into any werewolves or vampires, is what I'm saying. But it wasn't really a point for us to... There wasn't really a point for us to go out and do research on the zombies. It just didn't seem necessary. We knew what it took to kill them. We knew in general how they acted. We knew what the biggest issues were. But they didn't, they never were like a point of curiosity for us. Also, we just weren't smart enough. That's the other thing. We could have made some sort of weird facility that would let us, capture zombies and experiment on them and shoot them up with various devices or try to inject them with something. It was pretty obvious based on the decomposition of the brain and your fluids and everything that there was no way to bring a human back from being a zombie. We knew that much. We didn't want to mess with that at all, and nobody else really did either. I'm sure there were some people that attempted, but I don't think the people that would have attempted were people that were, scientific at all. It's in my mind, anyone that was trying to revive a zombie is somebody that really didn't understand what we were dealing with. Not to say that there weren't, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that went on with regard to zombies, with regard to people's, not like opinions of them, but the way people acted around them, the way people treated them. And most of those opinions were not that smart, because it usually got you killed. There was even a group, not like an organized group, but people that we ended up calling Quizlings, which were effectively just mentally broken people that acted like zombies. They were fully human, but they acted like zombies. And those presented kind of a moral quandary for a lot of people, because they were humans, they were people, but they were just mentally impaired. Not saying that zombies themselves didn't present a moral quandary for a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the war. They are trying to kill you, but this person you might have known. They might have been your friend or your family member. But the people that hesitated too much usually ended up being zombies. And I think that might have contributed to the spread early on. People, despite all of the talk, despite all of the macho-ness before the war, it's like, oh, if somebody's trying to get me, I'll kill him. It can be really difficult to just turn around and do that when the person is somebody that you've known for a really long time. Hospitals got taken over early on because the patients would either be not properly restrained, or they would just break out of their restraints because they're almost, a zombie is almost superhuman when it comes to their abilities. And the whole thing of it is, I guess, the whole way that it spread was just, okay, now it's taken over these hospitals, these care facilities, because the people inside were not armed and not prepared for effectively superhuman things trying to kill them. And once you lose that, it'll just spread from there. And, the military tried to contain it in a lot of cases, but in a lot of places it just escaped the hospital before people could really get a handle on it. Hold on. I'm really hoping this is just allergies. Sorry. So, yeah, I was not privy to the details of the, sort of zombies getting everywhere. But because of the alpha teams, which were the small teams distributed before the Great Panic, to quell these little zombie spring-ups, these smaller infections, there were infections in many, many major cities across the globe, and that people really didn't notice, that people really didn't care about. They were really trying to keep this under wraps, and I think even a lot of hospital personnel just didn't know that this is what they were trying to treat, or this is what they were trying to deal with. And one of the things is there's still no, to my knowledge, there's no vaccine. They never developed a cure. The war came and went, and if you didn't get infected, you didn't get infected. It's almost like rabies in a way, which I know there is a vaccine for rabies, but if you don't get physically bitten, you're not just going to pick it up, from touching the wrong doorknob or whatever, or eating with your hands or something. That's it doesn't just jump on you. The zombies do, but it's the kind of thing where it's not like you don't see them coming. They're not very fast. And it's fairly easy to recognize when someone is infected. At least after they've become zombified. Before then, there's really no telling. But, unless you can see the bite. But, yeah, there were small infections a lot of the time because, so I'm not sure where it started exactly, you can read it in the book, but, then people would come, try to escape to different countries with better medical care, and they wouldn't really be able to, either they wouldn't be able to get there in time and they'd end up zombified, or they'd get there and they end up in the hospital and they'd become zombified in the hospital. And then you had zombies effectively taking over hospitals. Just because people weren't ready for it. And, like I said, the biggest thing, the biggest danger with zombies is the fact that they've got just unbelievable amounts of stamina. They don't stop. They don't ever stop. Not for drink or food or rest or anything. And they are using a body to basically its full capacity. I was lucky because I never had to run through a forest to escape zombies. You can go faster than them, but they'll catch up to you in the end. The whole thing with us in the train was that we were able to stay away from them. We could go 60 miles an hour on a good day, running for 10 hours. That'll take us 600 miles away. That's an ideal number, and it never really happened. But it would be possible, hypothetically. And that's not something that a walking zombie can do. A walking zombie shambling at say 5 miles an hour to give a optimistic estimate of how far a zombie can get. Shambling for 24 hours. Actually, wow. Yeah, 5 miles an hour, I guess, is a little bit too optimistic. I just did that real quick in my head, and it's like, oh, wow, actually, they could have, no. Okay. Yeah, they'll go 24 hours, 5 miles an hour. They can make it 120 miles. Again, that's an optimistic number, which is, a fifth of what we can do in the train, optimistically. And we can get around, and we can move supplies around, and we can set up defensive areas, and this, that, and the other. All these things that we did in the train, nothing that you guys are unfamiliar with. But we at no point wanted to sit down and wait for the zombies to come to us so that we could do something stupid with them. We were not, like I said at the beginning of the episode, we were not researchers. We weren't smart enough to do that. We're dumb. We're dumb people. We were simple traders, and simple traders tasked with starting up an economy and building a rail system out of basically nothing, except for rails. A functioning rail system out of dormant rails. We certainly had a lot on our shoulders and a lot that we were able to do, but we weren't there to do science. We were there to do that. We were there to run a train and to move people and to move things. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. And it was not the kind of thing where we would sit down in a laboratory and try to figure stuff out. When we were faced with zombies, there was only one thing we could do, and once we were sort of accustomed to the reality of the situation, we were... I hate to call it efficiency because, it's different, because it's not like in a normal war you were fighting a human enemy. Zombies were not human. And that's what we had to keep reminding ourselves. Every time you would think about it too hard, you'd have to remind yourself that we're not fighting people here. We're fighting a virus. It's taken over these bodies and is using them. And so I don't know too much about Solanum, but I know enough. And I don't really think I need to seek out more information. There's not much more that I need to know, that I want to know, that would help me any. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Train Man out.